It's time for a garden update. Good morning, friends. It's been a little over a week since I did a garden tour. I figured I would come out here this morning and just do a little update to show you how much it's grown and some of the new things that are coming up, some of the things that we're harvesting. Let's take a look. The grape trellis is looking big and beautiful. I have a lot of that fungus that has turned the grapes black and making them dry up, but there's still quite a bit of grapes on here. This is the front bed here. It's our mostly flowers. I've got a couple of okra plants that are growing and getting big. My dahlias are about to start blooming, and tons of zinnias. Looks like the Japanese beetles have wreaked havoc on this raspberry bush. Some asparagus that I planted. This tomato plant is, all of my tomato plants are pretty wild right now. These tomato plants are wild. Everything's kind of just wild and crazy right now. That's pretty much how I would describe the garden overall. The noodle beans have really climbed the trellis this week. We have a lot of baby noodle beans. We'll be harvesting these in the next couple of days. You can see these are all baby noodle beans, but they're really starting to climb up and over. They'll be hanging down from the trellis in no time. This elderberry has really started showing out this week as well. It's blooming. It'll be setting fruit soon, and I'll have to cover them with some mesh bags to keep the birds off. But that's exciting. It looks like we're going to have quite a harvest this year if I can keep the birds from eating them all. That one is starting to bloom as well. And this is, so I've got some plants coming up, and the squash bugs are here. I'm gonna have to come and hand pick, or I don't know, get something natural to spray on there or something. This is loofah gourd starting to really climb. And this trellis is where I had a melon growing and a crawdad ate it. About 4 or 5 days ago, I dug his hole up and tried to catch him, and he hasn't come back. The hole isn't there anymore. He hasn't remade his hole yet, so I think it might be safe to plant again. So we're gonna plant some more melons there. And the other side of this trellis is some cucumbers. They're like a Japanese variety. I can't remember exactly the name of them right now. These little beetles are eating up all kinds of things. I gotta remember to carry a little cup of soapy water out here when I come. And then in this bed, we've got some basil. I need to come and tie up the tomatoes. We've had some rain this week, and it made everything kind of just shoot up and go crazy. I have not pruned my tomatoes as much as I normally do, and that is contributing to a lot of why things look so wild and crazy in the garden. But everything looks super healthy and fine, and so for now I'm just kind of letting them go. I will eventually probably have to trim back because of all the humidity before the blight sets in. I've got some grapefruit being set. I am so excited about this sunflower. I'm pretty sure it's one of the dark red varieties. On the back side here, we've got some pepper plants, and I've got like a bush baby watermelon growing there, some more chamomile. Everything's looking so lush. On these front beds here, these are the elephant garlics that I just let go. I have a tomato plant that I put something around to help secure it and support it. And then over here, and I've got this random tomato plant. Got some more pepper plants down here. This one's looking a little sad. I think it's maybe getting shaded out because of the sunflower. And then I've got this wall of tomatoes that also need to be tied up a little bit, but they're looking beautiful. Have another sunflower. We planted Kajari melons here on this, and man, the bugs wreaked havoc on them. So I put some DE on there, and then it rained, and it looks like it pretty much knocked the bugs back. A lot of the plants, I planted them heavily, but a lot of the plants, of course, are goners, but it looks like there's enough lasted that they can spread up. And we've got beans. These beans are just like taking over. These green beans are taking over the walk space over there. But we're about to start harvesting a bunch of green beans as well. So that's exciting. This side has cucamelons growing on it. And man, they're really starting to fill out. I'm excited to see how well these grow and how many we might actually get this year. On this side, I tried to fill in this area with some greens and some radishes, and the rain really washed my seed down. So I just have to kind of wait and see. We got more fruit growing here. More tomato plants that need to be supported and tied up on this side. These peas are still putting off quite a bit at the top, but they're just about done, I think. Starting to really heat up. The aphids are starting to take over, and that's okay because these tomatoes need their space. These are all cherry tomato varieties that I stuck over here, I believe, and they're gonna need their space and their light. I knew that the peas would be done fairly soon. Left that one, it got full. These peas are so sweet. The pod is tough after it gets big, but you can open this up and eat the peas. They're so yummy. This bed of strawberries is really starting to fill out. It's sending off a bunch of runners. I think I'm gonna start cutting some of the runners and putting them in some of the other places that I would like to have more strawberries. This is the back side of this trellis where all of the green beans are. I planted these a lot less thickly this year to give them more space, and they still just filled out and took over. They're like all leaning out into the beds, and I have to like raise them up to look for the green beans. But you can see we're fixing to have to start harvesting beans. The tomatoes are all putting on a ton of blossoms. It's looking like it's going to be a good tomato year if this keeps up. So on this bed area, we have this giant sunflower growing. It's like, I don't know. I'm going to show you. I mean, this is me standing right next to it. That's a really tall sunflower. I'm pretty excited about it. We've got this tomato plant and a nasturtium. There are some pepper plants, a bush baby melon, and then there is a cantaloupe plant there. We've got a rosemary and some dill. There's some more tomato plants, some volunteer watermelons, more sunflowers. There's a tomato plant hiding in here. Some volunteer potatoes from last year. And some more cucumbers that I believe we're going to be able to pick here in just a couple of days. Got some baby pickles. Not baby pickles, some baby cucumbers. And there's probably more down in there that's almost ready. There's a bunch. And I'm thinking I probably should have put this variety on a different trellis so that they could really grow up. But that's okay. And then this sunflower is huge, y'all. I mean, look how big around that sunflower is. It's not super tall, but it's got a like just a huge face on it. This other little baby sunflower. I have some more beans that I've put in here, some more bush beans, and then more tomatoes on this trellis. More radishes and greens that I've plugged in here. Got some hot peppers, some more tomatoes, and we have cucumbers growing here that I think, yep, there's also baby cucumbers here. You need to be on the trellis, my friend. I have my rosemary that I put here. I'm really trying to get at least 1 or 2 really big, nice rosemary bushes established. The one I had here died last year, and so I really have a lot of rosemary plugged in to hopefully get 1 or 2 to just establish and make me a couple of big rosemary bushes that come back every year. So we're gonna move on to the in-ground garden. Here is our okra. All of the okra that we had to replant is coming up nicely. The okra that was our first round, it's starting to put on blossoms. We will be picking okra pretty soon. Look at that. We're getting some blossoms are fixing to start opening up. Oh, we're having an issue with these little caterpillars. In the next row, I've got these tomatoes that are, again, going wild. I brought these poles over here because I thought I would use them as a trellis of some sort, but they're so tall I can't drive them into the ground. So I may cut them in half and go in and use them and just try to support the tomatoes a little, but they're kind of wild and crazy. I mean, look at all of this tiny fruit. I kind of thought about just letting them do their thing and use it like an experiment. We do have the ground cover, so they're not getting dirty, but you can see they're just crazy, and we're gonna have to like dig for the fruit to try to find it. And I'm sure the tomato hornworms are gonna love this little row because this is just a jungle, and I kind of love it. On the next row, we have some bush beans that we planted here, and then 1 jalapeno plant, and a squash of some variety. I'm not really sure what it is. Then we have a watermelon and some more squash plants, and then we've got like summer squash. And then over here we planted more melons and then some winter squash on that end. Over here we have the blackberry row. I started all these blackberries from seeds. They've been okay. They struggle a lot. Also, I forget to kind of water them. So I'm gonna set up a drip irrigation for this row. We put in this new blackberry bush. I need to water it, but I'm hoping that it really takes off and grows a lot of good blackberries. But they're starting to do a second bloom, and they're going to start putting off more berries soon. I love the flowers that these put off. They're like a really pretty pink. We have some that are kind of a variegated pink. They're so pretty. And then on to the fruit and herb bed. We have some strawberries here that are starting to come back finally. They're starting to send off runners. They're struggling a bit. They need some fresh soil in this bed. A blueberry bush. And then this is my herb bed here. The sage is doing really well, but check out the dill. The dill has gone nuts, and I'm gonna have to come in here and like cut it back. Parsley is doing really well as well. Like some more pink dandelions that are starting to open. That's always exciting. There's another sunflower. This was a volunteer that I just stuck in the cinder block. Got some more chamomile. And then this is our blueberry bush. We've been harvesting the blueberries off of it. The girls love to come out here and see what fruit is ready to eat. I have another blueberry bush on the backside that I just planted this year, so I'm hoping it will grow up too. And then I put in a lavender. Here's another chamomile. So this is kind of just like our fruit belt. The raspberries are doing phenomenal here. We have harvested a ton of raspberries for snacking. Not enough to really make anything. I mean, maybe if we had like saved all of them up in the freezer or something, we could have made something with them. But the girls love coming out here and snacking, and so do we. But I have strawberries that are doing so well right here, and they're just spreading out. But there are a ton of baby raspberries popping up all in the bed. And so my plan is to just let this fill in with fruit. This just be like a wall of fruit to be able to come out here and pick and eat. I'll have to learn how to prune raspberries, because if it gets crazy, we won't be able to see or get to the fruit. But I'm loving this jungle of fruit right here. And then of course my random asparagus that's growing in this bed still. There's another baby raspberry plant. This strawberry bed is taking off. It is sending runners off, and I'm almost tempted to just let these runners run into the raspberry bed and do their thing. I keep bringing them back around. It bloomed again. This strawberry plant is just like going wild. It's filling up this pool on the back side of the raspberries. We've got our mint that's contained inside the cinder block. I also have some catnip and a volunteer tomato. This bed has just extra tomato plants and some peppers, but I need to support these plants a little better. But I have some pepper plants in here that look like they're doing pretty well. These tomato plants are probably the healthiest tomatoes we've had in a long time. And in this little raised bed, I have my leeks on this side, and we have bunching onions growing over here. They're struggling a little bit with the heat, I think, and something's been eating at them. So, I don't know. I'll just keep working on them. We got some more chamomile. And then our apple tree, and we have a little apple tree on this side as well. On my arch, I have my rose bush. It's putting off its first little bloom. It's got another little bud right there. And I had this volunteer tomato come up, but I think I'm gonna have to cut it out and move it so it's not competing with my rose bush since it's trying to get established. On this side, I stuck this tomato plant here on purpose because I was running out of places to put tomatoes. So it's here on purpose, and I don't have anything else planted here, so it can stay. I'm gonna head over here to the greenhouse. This is my geranium kiss dwarf tomato. I'm pretty excited about it. It's filling out nicely. It doesn't have any buds on it yet, but it's getting there. And then chives are finally coming up. I planted chives all in this bucket, and I was beginning to worry that they weren't coming up, but they are. They're starting to come up, and I'm so excited about those. We still don't have dirt put in these buckets yet. Hopefully soon. Over at the fire pit area, we've got our small buckets here. This chamomile has been producing like crazy, and I had to put something here to support it because it was shading out the rosemary and the lavender. And then we've got the dill and some thyme, and then my basil and an onion on this side. And over here we've got the lemongrass, just growing up so beautiful. Got some mint and an onion. I'm trying to grow perennials here, like perennial flowers, things that are beautiful and full. And again, I'm just waiting to see what comes up, and what of this is weeds and what of it is actually flowers. So right now, everything gets to live. I know the clovers are not flowers. I just haven't pulled them. I can't decide about some of this. I've got my black hollyhocks growing. These are just pinto beans from our cabinet that I was testing to see how they do. I'm kind of watching them because they sprout so quickly. I was testing my soil. Testing the rabbit poo and a hay that we got to make sure that our hay wasn't contaminated. And so I'm kind of just watching to see how these do, if they curl up and die or anything. My hot peppers are getting their second leaves. They're doing pretty well. I need to transplant these today. I'm going to separate these out and put them in bigger pots so they can grow a little bit bigger before we put them in the green stock, so that bugs and slugs don't eat them up before they get a chance to really grow. My moonflowers are starting to climb the trellis and fill in. I'm really excited about those. This is the other side. I've got some impatiens and some more moonflowers climbing up the trellis. So over here we've got another chamomile. It's about to start budding up. And then I put I thought this was a rosemary. We'll see. All of my micro tomatoes are starting to blossom here in the green stalk, and it looks like the slug pressure has slowed down some. I'm hoping that they move on. I've got more basil I want to plant here. But we've got tons of tiny tomato, little micro tomato blossoms. We'll head over here to the front yard now. This is the new garden spot. We'll go check it out and see how everything's growing over here. These first 3 rows are potatoes. They were just potatoes that we had from a local farm stand that were sprouting big time in our cabinet. And so we just decided to plant them. And they're starting to pop up through the mulch. And then we have tomatoes that are looking really good. They're starting to fill out. And we have some purple whole peas that I need to thin because my helpers got them a little bit thick, but that's okay. We're just going to thin them out. Over here we have some cucumbers that are growing so well. Looks like these died. May have to replant that. I got to thin out the cucumbers as well. And then we have melons, more watermelons that I also need to thin out. And then this is another row of melons. And then this row is some winter squash. So those are looking great. And then the rest of this is all corn. This is the girls' corn patch that they planted, and they're super excited about. Looks like we need to get in here with the stirrup hoe and do some light weeding and hoeing between the rows. got the zoomies. So here's the corn rows. I feel we only put them 3 foot apart-ish, and I feel like they're really wide between there, but so I'm hoping I'm hoping that they're not too far apart for, you know, pollination purposes, but I'm assuming they'll be okay. So thank you guys for joining me this morning on my little garden tour. Have a blessed day.